911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. It looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
It seems to be a Bigfoot leaning against a tree in a wooded area.
I have seen plenty of people with big feet, but not Bigfoot.
Tree lines and brush, he sees about a 7 and 7.5 foot tall Sasquatch looking back at him.
Kind of looks like a wolf, but not like a neighborhood dog.
Take these stories for what they are in hopes that maybe if it's out there, then show me.
Yeah.
And says he might have caught the mythical chupacabra creature terrorizing his chickens.
Like a grunt and a knock. It's like a...
I think there's kind of a cultural tendency for people to want to make Bigfoot a quote-unquote monster.
Welcome to ECBRO Bigfoot Radio.
Hey guys, welcome everybody.
Hi.
All right. So tonight is the first time that I've done a live broadcast in a long time. Although this will be part of the ECBR Bigfoot Radio. Real quick, I do want to say that I'll throw it out there. I am getting feedback from somebody who does not have a mic or anything plugged in. So usually, if you don't have a mic plugged in or a headset, that's usually the one I'm getting feedback from. I don't know who that might be. It doesn't give me it doesn't let me know who it is. So I just know that I'm hearing a bunch of sound and talking while I talk. So
it's Chris.
Okay. No problem. I just wanted to throw that out there because that was I hear it a lot. I don't know if anyone else heard, but I get it a lot on my end. So, but it's all good though. I'm sure he'll be back in here shortly. So.
Oh, he will.
Yeah, all you had to do was hit mute on his end because everybody has the ability to mute himself. So
that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm able to mute people too, but yeah, I'm getting feedback again. I'm still hearing it.
I
got to get a mute button for my wife.
Well, I won't tell her you said that. Hopefully she didn't hear you. Well, that's right.
She's not here.
Oh, that's right. She's out shopping. Yeah.
I was telling Dan earlier, Linda, that I'm under the weather a little bit. I've been sick for 2-3 days, so you have to kind of bear with me. Stomach problems and a head stuffed up, and I'm feeling hot and cold. I don't know what it is, but I went up the mountains. I was telling him a few days ago, and while I was there, Brian Seach messaged me on Messenger. He wanted to get a bio from me for the thing on May 17th. So I was up here in the middle of the woods, 6 inches of snow on the ground, freezing my rear end off, and I get him the bio. So I took care of that. But yeah, so anyhow, so here I am stuck in the house. I haven't been outside all day, and I don't plan on going out tonight.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's okay.
Can't keep a good man down, though.
I'm tough. Dan knows I am.
Oh, yeah. And just to let you guys know, since we are live today and we are on YouTube, I am watching the comments. At least I'm going to watch them to the best of my ability. Hold on one second. I got to try something out here. All right. So, yeah, I muted you, Linda, because I wanted to try something out, and it silenced what I was hearing. So I think part of my interference was coming from you. So you might, if you have a headset or earbuds, if you can plug them in, that will eliminate that. So there you go. I got you unmuted right now. So can you hear me, Linda?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
you can mute me. I don't care.
Okay. Well, I don't want to when we get into our discussion and everything. I want to be careful. So I don't want to if John's talking, I'll go ahead and mute you. I mean, we all have the ability to mute ourselves. So all you have to do is hit the microphone option on your screen. So
the only way you can mute me is you can have duct tape.
That comes in many colors.
Ask Bill Rigby about. Well, Dan, you heard me talk. I could talk for days.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, Bill Rigby. We briefly brought that up, and made mention of that. Bill called me early today when I was at work. I just so happened to be on my lunch break. Because if I wasn't on my lunch break, I wouldn't have answered my phone. But I just happened to be on lunch break at work, and Bill. Well, he wanted to talk to me about something. I can't remember even what it. Oh no, it's because I made a correction on he had a post about the events that he's appearing at. And the event down here in Virginia, my event, he had completely wrong spelling of the location. So I typed it in the comments. And so that's what he was calling me about. And then we mentioned something about, yeah, he says, yeah, I don't know. Long story short, he mentioned you and talking and this.
I bet he did. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about this. I was just talking to Dan before you came on, Linda, about people who are using this genre to line their pockets with money and try to get notoriety and things of this nature. And for those of us who've had real experiences and stuff, I don't mind anybody. You want to write a book, that's fine, but don't use it to just line your pockets and make money. Just like a lot of these shows on TV, okay? Personally, here's what I want. Two things. I want Bigfoot found and listed on the Endangered Species Act. I don't want it killed. And two, I want, once they find it, all these other crazy things on TV can go away. Maybe they'll get into another genre. I don't know. Maybe, well, they already got the ghost things going on, but it makes me upset because, like I said, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. I put my life on the line many times to do this,
I know.
I can't not go out into the field. I'm drawn to go out there. I've seen them at least 4, maybe 6 times. I'm not sure about the last 2, but once you see these things, like Linda, you saw what you saw, okay, you changes your life, your whole outlook on reality, okay. And the last thing you want to do is have somebody come on there like they did with you and try to give you the blues and stuff. And for that really ticked me off, by the way. That really did tick me off, But the thing is those of us that know who you are and what you're about, we believe in you.
Thank you.
We know you're the real deal. Just like Dan. Dan and I went on a case together, and we know he knows how I am when I go out. I know how he is when he goes out, okay? And I consider him a good friend as I do you, okay? And the thing is I just want to get answers. I can tell you firsthand, I better watch I don't want to keep talking over everybody, but I want to just say this initially. I don't believe Bigfoot is a dumb animal. I don't believe it's a dumb. I think it's something else. I don't know what it is. It's intelligent. It's self-aware. Okay. It does have a rudimentary type of language, I believe. Okay. It's not a hominid as we know them because it has eye shine. Okay. What I saw had eye shine. No primate on this planet has eye shine. What it is, where it comes from, how long it's been here, I don't know. All I know is what I saw, and it changed me forever. And just so you know, I didn't get into this paranormal field to be a Bigfoot researcher. That just happened to come along. What happened was I was into UFOs and all that stuff, okay? But more cases I go and investigate, people were talking about seeing Bigfoot in conjunction, close proximity to a landed UFO or a hovering UFO. So it kind of piqued my interest. And back in '91, I went on a case down here in McMurray, PA. 2 of them followed me out of the woods with 13 witnesses, 2 juveniles. That's what started this whole thing. So I really don't want to be known primarily as a Bigfoot investigator. I'm a paranormal investigator. And the other thing I want to say that I'm going to shut my mouth and listen for a while is that there's no such thing as an expert in this field. I don't care what anybody says. Okay?
Speak for yourself, John. I'm just joking.
We are all seekers of the unknown. Okay? That's all we are. An expert is by definition somebody who knows what the heck they're talking about, basically. All I know is what I saw. I'm an experiencer like you are, Linda, like you are, Dan. Okay? We don't know what these things are. But I got to tell you something, one more thing, I promise. I think that the Mothman and Bigfoot and other type cryptids are kind of connected.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, I mean, you would think, I never thought about that. However, I mean, I don't know much about the Mothman itself, except it's like it seems like West Virginia is the main location. Um, However, there's other similar creatures has been seen elsewhere, but with that being said, like in the same general areas where there's been Bigfoot sightings, so it kind of seems like okay, they inhabit the same general areas apparently. I mean, which is kind of interesting. I mean,
well, when you and I we went down on that case by Mingo Park, we were looking what was called we believed to be a puckwudgie. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Remember that? And I actually just saw something on Facebook today. It was a reel, and it showed a chimpanzee taking an animal and shaking it violently to death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's exactly what that gentleman down there described he saw with that wild turkey. Okay. But what I'm getting at, I guess, is that I think there's a connection. And I don't know as much about Mothman as Linda does. But I did meet John Kill many, many years ago at LaGuardia Airport in New York. And what a lot of people don't know, because they watched the movie, The Mothman Prophecies, John explained to me that there's a lot of UFO sightings in that area. A lot. And Linda, you told me yourself, and I'll let you tell the story about it, but there's a connection with that as well up there. I went down there 2 years ago with my wife on my second investigation to that preserve. And I'll just leave it at that. And I'm just going to shut up for a while so you guys can talk.
No, please go on.
Well,
you're fine, John. Yeah.
Yeah. Please,
well,
John.
here's the thing. As you know, that preserve it's a preserve. Okay. There's a bunch of bunkers there and stuff. Now, my wife was afraid to get out of the car, but you know me, Dan, I'm not afraid of anything. So I got out and I walked into every one of the bunkers, and I had this real powerful spotlight. I have it right here, in fact. And and I had you've seen my walkie-talkies, which are basically handheld CBs.
Right.
Now they were really powerful.
Hey, John, I want to interrupt you real quick because for those who are listening, I want to give everybody the opportunity because, again, I'm watching the live chat. I got the chat section opened up on my screen. So anybody that's listening, if you have questions for John or Linda or anything at all in general, please comment in the live chat as well, and I will make sure they see those questions. I'll actually pull it up on the screen so they can read it themselves. And also, real quick, I want to throw it out there. If you're new to this and you want to help support this YouTube channel, there's an option to send a super chat or a super. If you're not familiar with that, a super is basically saying a donation to the YouTube channel. If you want to help support, it's very, very much appreciated. So again, there's several ways. If you're on YouTube viewing and watching and listening, if you look at the bottom right-hand side of your chat, you'll have the option to send a donation. So if you're up for it, it's not required, but it'll be appreciated if you wanted to donate to the channel. But again, if you got comments and questions, please ask in the chat. That's what we're here for. That's one of the reasons why we're live today, because we want some interaction from the audience. And again, I will address it to my guest today. So with that being said, I'm going to shut up now and turn this back over to John. And I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Well, anyhow, so we go up there. We went down there. I was there 3 days in Point Pleasant. We stayed actually across the river. And we went up there and stuff 3 days in a row. And it was I guess it was summertime around July. And I went into all these bunkers, and nothing was unusual there. One of the things was unusual was I didn't see not one animal, not a bug, not a frog at that green ass pond that was down there. Nothing, not a deer, nothing. But I went into the last bunker. Now, as you know, Linda, they're rounded. They're rounded like this, like an igloo. So I go in the last bunker. The minute I stepped inside, my light quit working and my CB quit working. Okay. The other ones, it didn't do that. This was the closest bunker to where my wife was sitting in the car, about 150 yards away. Okay. So I thought that was unusual. And then while I was there, a man came looking for his dog. He said his dog went into this preserve. He's never seen it since. So he asked if we could help him. So we went looking for it, couldn't find it. But the thing is, I'm getting it was the stillness of this area, how still it was. It should have been teeming with deer and bugs and frogs. That pond is real big. It's pretty good size. It had green slime on it and everything else. It should have been frogs or something else. The only thing that was kind of funny toward the end when I was getting ready to leave is I walked up to the car. And my wife did see a moth. One moth.
Yeah.
Now that's the second investigation I went down on. Now the first one I went was many, many years ago by myself. Then I didn't see anything either, but it was the same kind of scenario down there. Okay. I was a lot younger then. So, I mean, we're talking, listen, I'm an old fart. What can I tell you? But I walked around the whole place back then. I didn't see anything or hear anything. But that kind of raised a question to me. I should have seen something. You understand? With a park, with an area that big, there should have been some kind of life up there. But there was nothing. It was like everything was still. And as you know, if you have a bear in the woods, everything's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You don't hear anything if there's a bear in the woods or some other predator in the woods. Yet there was not a sound. Now, Linda and I talked before about this. You said you saw Mothman close with a UFO above, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, some of the accounts I've read of the Mothman were talking about UFOs in that area over a period of time. Now, it's a pretty isolated area, too. So here's what I think. And Linda, I don't think the creature's supernatural, first of all. Meaning, I don't think it's a spirit. Okay. I know some people might disagree with me. A while back on the History Channel, I saw a couple who went down there. They got on the History Channel and said this thing followed them back home. It was spirit-like.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
No.
This thing's tangible. You can touch it. Not that I want to. But if I had to, I would. I'd give it hell. I'd tell you that. But the thing is that this is a real thing. Now, my question is this to you both. Do you think it's possible that a UFO might come here? It might be they're letting out one of their beings, okay, from what the Mothman looked like, okay? If you know anything about biology, and I do, you have to have a certain size wing to lift up a certain size body. Now, birds have hollow bones. That's why they can fly and glide and everything else, right? The biggest creatures ever flew was the Quetzalcoatlus, had a 30 to 36 to 40 foot wingspan, but it had hollow bones. What you saw, Linda, had what, 10, 12 foot wings?
Yes.
Okay. Did you happen to notice it was flapping its wings?
No, it put its wings straight back. I have flying squirrels here. This is the first time this year that I've seen them up close. And those things can not only fly down, they can fly up. Right. And it's kind of weird because that's exactly what it did. It put its wings back and went up, just like one of those flying squirrels.
You know what it puts me in mind of? You ever see the movie Jeepers Creepers?
I know of it, but no.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that thing, the wings just open right up.
What I'm getting at, as far as when it paced the car you were in, okay, it had to have some kind of other propulsion to move it forward. I'm not saying it can't glide, but what I'm getting at, let's just say this for the sake of argument. Maybe it had some type of an anti-gravity device around its waist that nullified gravity, so it was up in the air, but the wings were the forward propulsion, okay, or the upward propulsion or downward propulsion. But the gravity nullifier itself can keep it above the ground. That's what I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. And if it's seen in conjunction with a UFO, it could be extraterrestrial in nature, okay, or maybe interdimensional. I don't know. But I can tell you from the accounts I've read, from talking to you, Linda, I believe this creature is real. I believe you saw it 100%.
Thank you.
You know,
I did.
Anybody else? And here's the thing about this. You got a lot of naysayers out there in the world, okay, that never see anything. The reason they don't, because they're on the phone all the time. They're not looking to see anything. And if you don't look, Dan, as you know, you're not going to see. Okay? Sometimes it's by luck you see things, but you have to look. You have to use your eyeballs to look and see. That's why we get out in the woods. That's why we do what we do, okay? But the thing is, like if I were to tell people before there was a fish that lived 65 million years ago called the coelacanth, and they found him alive, it's supposed to be extinct. They found him in the Indian Ocean swimming around recently again. Mm-hmm. How about the platypus? If you didn't know about a platypus and you didn't have access to an encyclopedia or the internet, and I said to you, hey, there's a creature that's got the bill of a duck, It's got fur, it lays eggs, the tail of a beaver, and poison-tipped claws. And you didn't know any better, what you'd say to me? Quit drinking.
Yeah.
Platypus.
I know. Oh, I know. I take a lot of flack, and at first it bothered me quite a bit. But then I can't help but remember back when, before this happened, even though I was very young when it did happen, if somebody would have told me about stuff like that, or, they had seen something like that, I would have gone, oh, you're nuts. A lot of times you have to experience it, or,
Right.
you have to go out in the field. You have to go look. I just happened to be out riding around with my boyfriend. Yes, we were looking, but we didn't really think we were going to find that, But
Well,
I've seen a lot.
Yeah, guys. I want to throw it up there. I have it on the screen. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there's a question on here. Virginia Cryptid and Paranormal Research. This is David Lester asking, what was or is the purpose of the bunkers?
You want to take that, man?
Well, during World War II, that was a munitions factory, and they made TNT for the bombs for the war, and they stored them in those bunkers. Well, they made them look almost like an Indian mound, in the fact that you can't see them from the air. If you fly over, you might think, oh, that's an Indian mound or just a mound of dirt. But in actuality, it's a bunker that stored that TNT. And not too many years ago, I don't know, maybe it was in the late 90s, one of them blew up. It had stuff still stored in it, and it exploded. And so they came down, and they had to clear all that out, clean it all out. But the ones that they have open now, and you can just go down there, and the entrance into a lot of them is just covered with moss and vines and all kinds of sticks and stuff. But there's a door there. Usually it's ajar, and you go in, and the acoustics in that place is out of this world. But there's graffiti all over the walls and everything. But that's where they stored the TNT in, I don't know what, in great big cans or, containers. And I was told a few years ago that there are tunnels from the TNT area that reach all the way to the river, where they used to move that stuff, and no one even knew they were doing it, and put it on boats, and it was shipped out of there, because that was one of the questions I always had. But that building that the Mothman was seen in, that's one of the buildings that where they made it. They had all kinds of. You can go online and research that and see pictures of the old buildings that were down there.
Well, they had a special on TV not that long ago, maybe a month or so, where they showed some people in those underground tunnels you were talking about. Doing some investigation. And they're supposedly, when I saw the film and the footage, and it seemed like there was something down there, living down in there. Okay, it wasn't as big as the Mothman, but it was something otherworldly living down there. So that gives credence to what you're saying as far as the tunnels going down to the river, and it makes sense during the war. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now I will say this though. Now I know that the Silver Bridge collapsed, and somebody said they saw a creature like the Mothman on the Silver Bridge, and they say it's a harbinger of death or tragedy or something. I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't think it caused the bridge to collapse. The bridge collapsed because it was antiquated and need work done on it. It's unfortunate everybody knows all those people lost their lives. God bless them. But I don't think the Mothman had a direct influence on that whatsoever. If it was there, it was there.
I agree, because I think it was a coincidence that it was spotted in the area and the bridge gave way. I mean,
I was thinking about going back again this summer sometime. I have other speaking engagements to go to and such, and I plan on going down to visit Linda with my wife down that way. So while we're down that way, I'm going to go down and check things out again, because I got about $3,000 worth of equipment I bought to go in there and do some stuff, EVP meters and things of this nature, laser pointers, the works. But
John, you need to bring that. You need to bring that stuff down to Virginia during my camp out, and stop trying to hide from my camp out.
Well, here's the thing. I've been invited by Doug Lockhart to go up on Chestnut Ridge up in the mountains up there with his group, because I'm a member of his group and one of the group experts. So I hate to use that term, group expert, but
hey, I love Doug, but he ain't nothing special. I'm just joking. I'm picking. I love you, Doug.
I talked to Bill as well about I want to go out to Salt Fork and do about a week-long investigation out there. Now, my wife wouldn't go, of course, but I would go. You know, but I want to go out there because they call it the Grassman, but it's basically a Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Right.
You know, yeah. But I want to hear more about what Linda has to say about what her experience was with Mothman. I don't want to be taking up.
Well, before we go any further, I got another question up on the screen right here. Well, they're saying I heard the Mothman shows up prior to disasters, which I've heard that myself. So, or possibly giving a warning. Now, that's something I've heard on documentaries and other things along the way. What's your thoughts on that, Linda?
Well, what I have found, and of the people that were still living that were experiencing Mothman back in the days when I did in the 60s, I found a lot of us are related. And I'm 7 generations from Chief Cornstalk, and some of those people are too. Either that or they have Native American background, even closer, you know. The thing could have hurt me. Let's just put it that way. It could have hurt me, and it didn't. So I think that if anything, it was brought here it knew something was going to happen. And I think it came with the aliens. I know this is all crazy, but this is what happened. And I think it came here with the aliens. And if anything, it came to warn the people that something was going to happen. And if it was above the bridge, maybe it knew something. The men in black certainly knew something. They were hanging around down there in Point Pleasant all those days before. Weeks before, and they wouldn't leave Mary Hire alone. She was the woman that worked for the Athens Messenger, which had an office down there in Gallipolis. They wouldn't leave her alone. They drove her about halfway crazy.
I would be interested to know, when the Mothman was seen on the Silver Bridge, where exactly on the Silver Bridge was he seen? And was that area one of the ones that collapsed first?
Yeah, that's a good question. Someone just told me that it had been seen on the top, but that could have been anywhere. But I didn't feel, when I encountered it, I didn't feel like it was there to hurt me. If anything, I felt chosen or, you know, even protected. But there's no doubt in my mind that it came with that UFO. None whatsoever. Because it was right there under it. And
well, the description of the Mothman, I've seen it varies a lot. You know, I've seen pictures of, you know, people make the Mothman statues, and the one that's down at Point Pleasant and such. But I would be interested if you could actually draw, unless you maybe already have one, you've drawn a picture of what you saw, to see how it coincides with the actual statue they have down there. Okay.
Yeah. It's a glamorized, the thing that I encountered was probably about 7 feet tall. Or see, I was little. I was about 5 foot tall and weighed about 100 pounds at the most. But it had black skin, smooth, almost like lizard skin. Now, you know, when I was regressed, I learned that the thing picked me up off the ground. And so it had hold of me, and I remember seeing its hands. It had hands like a man. I didn't really notice so much its fingernails, but it picked me up with one arm. So I know that what I saw for just a brief instance when it had hold of me, and then when it flew in front of the car, that it had wings more like a bat. It had the stuff underneath, like a bat has that flesh underneath that connects its. But it had arms, it had legs, it had feet. It didn't have feathers that I saw. If it had feathers on its head, now, like I told a few of my friends that had seen it before too, I did not see the red eyes. Now, whether it was a reflective thing or whether it didn't want me to see the red eyes, but it didn't frighten me. But the thing was, I still see it. It was a creature.
Right. And for some reason, go ahead, John.
What I was saying, we have in the UFO field, we have a number of different types of alien entities that have been seen. One of which would be the reptilians. Okay, and let's extrapolate this a little bit. Okay, in the animal world, the insect and the amphibian world. Okay, there are amphibians can glide. Okay.
Yes.
So why would it be so far out of the reach of believing that maybe this creature is a reptilian? Okay, maybe it had wings. Maybe it was one of the higher hierarchies of the reptilians. Okay, just like look. Boy, I'm really going to get off on a tangent here.
Go ahead. It's interesting. Somebody needs to.
When I took the pictures that I had, the 7 pictures of the UFO that hovered over top me, there were 4 creatures in the window. 3 grays about 3 feet tall or so, and one was about a head tall. It was lighter in color. That tells me there's an hierarchy. You understand?
Yes.
So let's extrapolate that and say reptilians as well. They have an hierarchy, just like bees do. Okay, wasps do. So maybe that's what it was in conjunction with the UFO. So it's an intelligent creature. If it did come out of the UFO. Got it?
Yeah.
So it's not an animal. It's not something supernatural. It's super normal. Yes. It's paranormal. Yes. But it's not supernatural in the sense that it's not a spirit entity and stuff like that. I don't believe that for a second. Okay. And I can tell you from being in that park a couple of times and getting ready to go down again, that whatever's in that, I think it's still around in that park. Where it's at, I don't know, because that's a pretty big park. Okay, that's a pretty big area down there. Okay, it could be anywhere down there.
It could be in those tunnels.
It could be in those tunnels. That's what that documentary showed. People were down in those tunnels and they said they saw this and they got it on supposedly on film. I'd have to review the film and have it done by an expert to see if it was a doctored film or something. Okay. The problem we have nowadays in the paranormal community is you got a lot of AI generated stuff. Okay.
I know it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell difference.
It's hard to tell things right. It's hard to tell things from one thing or another. Just like Bigfoot. I saw a Bigfoot. Bigfoot does not look like the Incredible Hulk. Okay, bulging muscles, nothing. It's not like that. It's covered with hair. You can't even see the muscle. It's there because it's got big arms and legs, big chest.
Well, okay. AI is so realistic looking. They even use celebrity people faces on stuff. I mean, it looks real. Like me and you, like we're looking at each other right now. That's how good it is.
I'm AI generated.
Well, I mean, for example, I see that. I don't know why they use it. I know AI uses whoever's using this or whoever deals with it. I don't know why. There's all kinds of celebrities they use. But the number one I see the most, not to get off topic, but they use Ariana Grande. Now, don't get me wrong. I grew up watching her, with my daughter when she used to be on kids shows. Now she grew up to be a very beautiful pop star singer. And of course, now the images that they put on social media, it's pretty obvious. I mean, they might give her the face look, but the rest of her, I said, no, they don't belong to her. So there's some giveaways. There's some giveaway. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into all that. Yeah, because she's not. Yeah, AI will give you more than what you actually have in reality. So if that makes any sense. So
I don't need that.
So my point behind all that is, if you're familiar with a lot of what's out there and what's presented, and then when something else gets put out there on top of it, trying to be portraying as the real deal, some of us know better. Is the whole point behind the whole AI thing. But but AI it is very deceiving. It is. I know we've talked about this a lot. It is very deceiving, which we tell.
I hate the
What's
red
that?
circle pictures. I hate the red circle pictures on these different groups. Okay.
If you don't have a red, well, John, what are you talking? If you don't have a red circle, it ain't real. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Listen. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna kind of switch gears here for a second. About 2 months or so ago, I mentioned this to you, Dan. I think I told you too, Linda. I was up to Washington Park. Now I live in Washington today, and I took my oldest great grandson, who's 7 years old, up to the park to ride his bike for the first time and teach him how to ride. So I go up there. It's a nice sunny day and stuff, and I'm sitting there on this bench watching him, telling him how to do it right. So I'm looking straight at him like this. He gets up by me. He says, "Pap, look over there." And I looked over there and I saw something sitting on the ground behind a tree. It was wider than the tree. The tree was probably a foot in diameter. Now, a human being could be wider than a tree, like only a foot in diameter. So I'm looking. It's all black. So about that time, my wife calls me and she says, I'm telling her what I'm seeing because Eli saw it first. That's his name, Eli. And I says, she goes, "Can you go get your binoculars and go to I have it in the car. It's about 100 feet away." Well, this thing was about 150 feet away from me. So as I stood up and started walking, this thing stood up. And I'm going to tell you something. It was all black. It was massive. And I know how tall it could have been because the next day I went up without Eli. It had its head above a 7 foot tall branch. So it was about 7.5 feet tall. There are no bears up here that tall.
No.
And when it left, it walked into the woods on 2 legs. Now, it's either extremely big, tall man, which I don't know anybody that big around here. And I'm a big guy. You see me. I'm not little. But this thing was there. That's the one. I'm not sure what it was. But what I'm getting at, I guess, is this, is that, you can see something and, there's a lot of misidentification going on too. Dan is a tracker. You can find footprints. It looks like it's something that's not. It could be a bear, it could be a cougar, it could be a coyote, but you got to be sure what you're looking at. I don't really like to say for sure what something is until I know I've actually got close to it. And the closest I ever got to that one big one was 15 feet, under 15 feet. And I looked up and I came to its waist. I'm 6'4". I came to its waist within 15 feet, probably 13 feet. It smelled like death, wide shoulders, wider than my SUV, arms like tree trunks and legs like tree trunks, massive chest, had some hair on its face, like right around here like this, but pretty much clear, but all around. I couldn't tell if it was male or female because the hair was so long on it, or fur. I couldn't see any musculature, but it was massive. I saw its hands. The back of its hands were like grayish black, big dark fingernails. And listen to this. When it looked at me and smiled, I guess it was a smile. And when it did, I could see 2 canines, big canines about that big, and molars. So that tells me that it's omnivore. It's a meat and plant eater. Okay. It didn't have a sagittal crest like a gorilla either. Okay. It's something different. And when I looked at it, it had green eyes. And I got hair samples. This thing had 22-inch long footprints. There were 12 police officers there before I even got on scene, and 30 civilians standing on the right-hand side of the road. Now, Dan, I took you and a couple of people up there with that. Right, I took you there, and I showed you where it was. I started walking up over that embankment. And I looked back, and the police officers weren't following me. And I said, "You guys coming or what?" And he goes, "No, look at the size of that effing thing." I said, "You guys got guns. You called me." So I said, "I'm going." So I walked up, and the closer I smelled it before I saw it, because there's no moon out that night. It smelled like death and leaves and rot but it's horrible. The hair samples that I got were hollow, and when I shined my powerful Q beam at it, the light wasn't reflective back at me, which it should have been. 500,000 candle power. That's a lot of light. It seemed to absorb the light. It stood there with its arms slightly crossed like this, tilted its head to the right and left, looking down at me, okay, studying me, I think. and I felt wave after wave. The only thing I could say, beating against my chest, like I want to say, it felt like it was sadness.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and about 15 to 20 seconds, and in a blink of an eye. Now listen to this. I can understand why some people get blurry pictures of Bigfoot. You know, unless you have a real fast shutter speed on your camera, the way this thing moved, it moved 0 to 60. It covered 30 feet in 3 steps into the woods. I couldn't even keep up with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I felt, and when it looked at me, I saw sentience, self-awareness. I didn't see an animal. It's not an animal. Okay. It's intelligent. Okay. Same thing with your Mothman. It's an intelligent creature. I don't know what that is either. You don't know what that is. We can only speculate and postulate what it might be. But here's the thing. We go out and we put our lives and our health and safety on the line to look for these things, okay? I'll still continue to do this as long as I have breath in my body, okay? I mean, recently I told Linda, I think, I actually went up to another castle up here in Brownsville. It's called the Nemacolin Castle. And it's the third most haunted place in the country. I got pictures of 4 ghosts. 4. Got them for sure. A little boy about 3 feet tall with a gray head looking hiding by like this light. Fingers coming around the doorway. 2 eyeballs in a mirror shining back at me. I mean, and they invited me to come back and do an overnight. And I'm going to ask Ron House to go up there with me overnight. I don't need anybody, but he wanted to go. So I said, what the heck? I'm going to go. But see, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not just a Bigfoot guy. I'm a paranormal guy.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
go ahead.
I want to throw out there, we're getting some awesome interaction from the live chat. But I want to back up a little bit here. I got this one here on Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast. This is William Nighthawk, for those who know William. Awesome guy. But this is a comment he threw up there. He said, I disagree. The Bigfoot are more than one type. What's your thoughts on that? Which I agree wholeheartedly. I believe there are different types of Bigfoot.
Can I say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I said this to you a long time ago, Dan. The northeastern Bigfoot, except for juvenile Bigfoot interactions, don't seem to be violent. They learn to live with urban communities, okay? And they're very nomadic. They don't take a particular area for themselves. They move around a lot. Now, you move further south where there are less people in more wooded areas, you have Bigfoot or Sasquatch, skunk apes, the Bogey Creek Monster are more violent, okay, because they're more territorial. Then you move out to the northwest, up by Oregon, state of Washington, Alaska. You heard of Portlock, Alaska, what happened up there, okay?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
They are more violent because they're away from people. Now, you heard there's Yetis, there's Yeren, okay? Yowie in Australia. The only place I don't think there might be a Bigfoot, and I hate to say this because I don't want to break his heart, but I don't think there's a Bigfoot in UK. Okay, that's just my opinion. Okay, I mean, but that's just my opinion. Okay, I'd have to go over there myself and see something before I believe it. Okay, I'll leave it open.
You should go.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you made that statement. For anyone listening, I want to get your input on that because I have often thought of that you made that statement, John. Now, I have spoken to other cryptozoologists from out in the UK, out in Britain, like, for example, Andy McGrath. And for those who know Andy McGrath, he's been involved with this for many years. He's a great guy. Andy McGrath, he studies a lot of wildlife as well. And the one thing I will agree that I believe they have been seen, and he's not the only cryptozoologist out there. There's others. And their main species of animal out there is a large, and I quote, and I state large, black cats out there in the UK or different parts of Britain, which I believe that's very plausible because I mean, cats are seen all around the world. So why not?
Here's the thing about that. Back in the day, rich people in England used to take and import exotic animals as pets. And I believe that they've let some of these like leopards or jaguars out, just let them out. They disappear and they go into the wild and they mate with another one and they've been around. I agree with that. But listen, the history of England goes way back. Okay, the Celts that lived there, the Anglos that lived there, the Saxons that lived there. Okay, the Romans when they went over and built Hadrian's Wall. There's been no reports at all, to my knowledge, of a Bigfoot-like creature. Panthers, yes. Okay, so I don't know for sure, but I mean, here's the only thing. Now, there was a time when the sea level was 400 feet lower, where the coast of England was connected to Europe. Because there's only, I think it's 26 miles, I think, from the English Channel to the mainland of Portugal and France. And so it could be possible that one migrated over there and stuff. But keep in mind that while England and UK in general, Scotland, England, Ireland, I mean, there's a lot of people there. You would think more people would have seen something, but you don't get a lot of reports out there. So I don't know for sure. Like I says, I don't want to knock anybody that's trying to find out if there is one. I'd be surprised if there was one. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to rule it out, but I'd be surprised. But the Bigfoot, I do agree with William Nighthawk that he's a good guy, by the way. I know who he is. But I do agree there's different types. For instance, the Yeti and the Yeren in China in the Himalayas is a very, very violent creature. Okay, they've been known to steal animals up here and young people as well. Okay, mainly I think because the food source is not that plentiful up high where they live. Okay, I think the other creatures that live up there with them are the snow leopards and such. Okay, but there's not that much food up there for a big creature like that. Australia, the yowie, for instance. Okay, again, there's a lot of interior that no one lives in. But let's think about what they have to eat over there. Okay, you have to look at a food source. Something that big needs a lot of food to keep going, to keep its big metabolism going, right? What do they have over there in Australia? Kangaroos. Okay, some cattle, I guess, too. And that brings me back to this. I don't know of any report in Pennsylvania, not one, where a Bigfoot creature has killed a cow or a sheep. Not one. I might have missed it, but in all over 5,000 cases, I haven't heard anything like it. And I'll tell you why I believe that. If this is an intelligent creature, which I believe it to be, it knows man. It knows that if it kills a cow or a bull or something like that, men are going to go looking for it. They're going to want to know what killed it, right? So it subsists on deer, other small animals, and berries and stuff like that. Okay, it needs a water source, it needs a food source, it needs places to hide, caves, overhangs, that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's where I look when I go out. By the way, I've waded through creeks and everything else in freezing weather, and I'm a nut when it comes to that kind of stuff. But anyhow, I'm getting way off the subject here, but
that's all right. You're a nut. You're a nut anyway. I'm just joking.
That's okay. Listen,
I love you, John.
When I first started doing this 58 years ago, okay, we had cults spring up, UFO cults where people were putting aluminum foil on their heads and saying they were taking to Venus. Guess what my hobby is? Astronomy and paleontology.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot about astronomy. On Venus, the pressure up there of the atmosphere is so bad, it would crush you. 800 degrees. There's nothing up there. There's no women up there like Women from Venus. Remember those movies? There's no women up there. When the Russians sent up a spacecraft that landed there, it only lasted, I think it was like 40 minutes or something. Then the heat overwhelmed it. And it's made out of metal. Okay? It's actually hotter than Mercury, which is closest to the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that we had a lot of people, because of those type of people were saying all this crazy nonsense. When we had real investigators going out there and investigating these things, we were looked at and lumped into that category of a bunch of nutcases.
Yes.
That's why I try to keep it legit. That's why I don't like when people go out there and make all these outrageous claims. I sat down. I saw one recently where they said Bigfoot had brought their whole family and talked to these people. Okay, told them their first names and stuff. Give me a break, okay? Give me a break. There's a lot of people out there that's going to be an outright lying. They're going to fabricate stuff, misidentify stuff, or maybe you're just nutcases, okay? 80% of the cases I've been on, I've debunked. The 20%, I have to say I believe, okay? And the best thing I can ever say to somebody like Linda, you, Dan, or anybody else that's listening tonight, if I do an investigation for you, the best thing I can say to you, if I believe you, I'll say, Because, you know, everybody wants closure when they see something. I believe you. That's all I can do, because I can't make them happen. I can't make them appear. I can't make an alien appear. I can't make Bigfoot appear or Mothman. I can't do none of that, right? So I have to go by what people tell me. And just so you know, look, anybody could see or have an experience in the paranormal. Anybody. I don't care if it's a pope, a priest, a felon, a teacher, you know, whatever. Anybody can have an experience. So I don't rule out anybody when they come forward, and when people, you know, they're putting their reputation on the line. Dan, you and I know that one guy by Mingo Park didn't want his name put out there, right?
Right. He didn't even want his face on camera, but I did it anyway. I'm a rebel.
But I believe he saw something there. You and I and the other investigator went down there, you know, and I believe, and that's real close to where I had the other Bigfoot sighting. Okay, so that's only maybe a mile or a mile and a half away. So yeah, we have them and stuff. Okay, but I'm talking too much. Linda, you got the floor. Where's that duct tape?
I was going to say, no comment, John.
No,
we love you, John.
It's all very informative and stuff that we all need to consider. And somebody comes forward and say, I know what a Bigfoot is, then they're not for real, because nobody knows. And unfortunately, it's going to take a body. Or,
well, you know what?
To really tell.
My brother, my brother was coming from work one night. He worked at the high school. That's by Route 43. Now, Dan, where I saw that 10-foot tall one was right across from Route 43. Okay. My brother Nick was on 43 coming back after 11 o'clock at night. He said he saw police vehicles on a highway, 2 crashed cars, a military truck, military personnel. Okay. They took something that was off the road that these 2 cars ran into and got demolished, loaded on a gurney. It was he said, looked like it was a Bigfoot. Now, my brother doesn't lie. I know he's my youngest brother. Okay. He never lies. So he saw something. That's the same area where the chief of police, I could tell you his name. I don't know if he'd be happy with it. Charlie Filoni. That's who the chief of police was in California, PA at the time. He said he saw a Bigfoot squatting down off of 43 watching a traffic go by. So, I mean, but no one knows until they see these things, and it changes your whole perspective.
It does.
You know, for you, Linda, that had to be terrifying as for a woman. Had to be terrifying. Absolutely.
I don't think how
breakdown.
I wasn't so much terrified until later. And I found out, I was ostracized so much by people when I would tell them what I saw. Nobody believed me and, called me a liar and called me a weirdo and a witch and all kinds of craziness. But, I don't know, to this day, I don't know what it was. I just know it was something. And what I saw didn't appear to be from this world. So.
No, and you're right. You got to look at something too. You know what? Have you heard the term exobiology?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me explain something. If we are the way we are as human beings, because where we live on this planet, we're the size we are, our eyes are the size they are. Okay, our skin is the way it is for this environment. Now, Bigfoot, from descriptions and what I saw personally, has large eyes, fur cover or hair, I'm not sure which. Okay, it's arboreal. It's been seen in the daytime, but mostly at night. So, and it's got long arms. Now, they've also been seen up in trees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wherever they come from, they're not the top predator. You know why? They got long arms. There's only a few reasons why you go up in a tree: for food, for shelter, and to get away from a bigger predator.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think it can see in different light spectrums as well. It's got super hearing. It's twice the size of a gorilla. So that means it's 4 times as strong as a gorilla. If you extrapolate that, so it's 4 times as strong as a gorilla. Gorilla strength was measured in Guinness Book as immeasurable, more than 20 men. So this thing's strong as 40 men. They could have ripped my arms and legs off and flossed its teeth with it. Okay, but I didn't feel any fear from it or any fear of it. I was there in awe of it because I've never seen anything. I've seen elephants in the zoos and stuff like that, and bears, and I've killed bears in my time. Okay, I've killed 3 bears in my life, but I've never seen anything that big, standing with its arms semi-crossed like this, with a barrel chest. I mean, huge chest. I weighed 240 pounds at the time. This thing was, I estimated with the soil compaction device, because of the depth of the imprint, that it weighed around 1,200 pounds. That's as big. That's bigger than a grizzly bear. Okay, and it moves so fast. I've seen deer run from a dead stop. This was faster than any deer I've ever seen, or any rabbit. I mean, it moved that fast. It was a blur.
Now you say that it is lower on the food chain. What would be above it other than man, and only man because it could possibly kill it?
Well,
What do you think?
Well, here's what I say about that. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's not from Earth.
Okay.
So wherever it came from originally, however it came to be here, okay, it wasn't the top predator. Now, back in the Paleolithic era, okay, we had saber-toothed lions, tigers, dire wolves, what they call a hell pig, okay?
Yeah.
It was like a gigantic man-eating pig, okay? So I'm thinking that wherever this creature originated from, it had something along those lines. It was bigger and more powerful than it, okay? And it seems to take, it's a sociable creature because it needs to mate. It has mates. It has young. It has a structured family environment, okay? The young ones seem to act up a lot like juvenile delinquents. They're the ones I think are throwing rocks at people and doing what they shouldn't be doing and things of this nature.
Knocking on the house.
Yeah. Right. So that's what I think. Now, the one up in, where Ron Howes lives, it's called Crescent Heights area. When I went up there with my friend, my co-investigator Devin, there was 3 of us: Paul Johnson, Devin, and myself. Paul Johnson is 6'6" and skinny. Devin's 6'6.5", 660. And here I was at 6'4", 240. I'm the little guy of the bunch. We interviewed a bunch of people up there, right? And we interviewed one woman who was in a trailer. Her trailer was on a hillside facing down the hill, right? She said she heard something at the window that was facing down the hill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She went to the window and looked, and there's this thing looking at that window. So looking at that window, you got to be at least 9 feet tall. And guess what? That's close to that area where the Bigfoot was. We found 6 sets of tracks. Mary Rob Jackson from Channel 2 News came down and picked me up with her news crew. We went up there. His church, it was up on top hill, isolated away from the town. We found 2 sets of tracks, 22 inches long and almost 18 inches. Found butt prints in the snow where it sat down. But listen, here's the kicker. Listen to this. I told Dan about this. I looked for tracks further on where it stopped. I'm looking. I'm like, what the heck? Where's its tracks? So I looked at the tracks it left. It stepped backwards into the tracks. That's an old Indian trick.
Yeah.
Into the woods where there's a lot of brush. You couldn't follow the tracks anymore. Now, Channel 2 News, that was KDKA in Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm not making this. You can't make this stuff up.
I know.
Somebody said something, Linda, I'm curious about what slobber on your window you recently posted.
Yeah, Tracy Hall is asking that question. Tracy Hall, she's William Nighthawk's wife. Linda, she said, I am curious about what slobbered on your window you recently posted about.
So am I. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it woke Chris up because his bedroom's up here right off of the porch. And I guess he got up and went out and looked, and he didn't see anything. But we have motion lights, and they were on. And, so he got up first to get ready to go to work, and I heard him up here. So I came up to let the dogs out, and he came in, and I went out to feed the birds. And I said, did you see that stuff on the front door? And he said, yeah, I was going to wait till you saw it and see what you thought. And so I swabbed it, and I sent it off to a professional. I'm not supposed to tell who has it right now, but they said it would take a couple of months. And it's not anybody that lives around me. But I was told by someone in the Bigfoot field, and they got me the hooked me up to send this off. So I put on gloves and got actually one of the things I used several different things. I used those kits for COVID, that has the swab in it. I had gloves on and I pulled that out and swabbed that and put it back down in that paper. And that was one of them. And then I had some Q-tips that hadn't been opened or touched, and I used those to go over the slobbers. It was a area, I don't know, about the size, like a softball, maybe a little bigger. And right in the middle, it looked like something pushed its lips up against there. And there, you could even almost see hair out to the side. But there were 5 long slobbers, like it was looking in the kitchen. Oh dear. There's 5 long slobbers, and it just went straight down from that area where I said it looked like a face to clear to the floor. And I measured, and it was like 4 feet up. And it was either, it could possibly have been a deer, but, there's a lot of things it could have been.
Well, let me ask you, the window you're referring to, from the ground up, how tall is that window?
It's a storm door. My front
Oh,
door.
okay, okay.
It was just a little bit up from where there's a stoop that comes out, and you step down onto the porch. So that's about 5 or 6 inches. And then from there up, it was about 4'7" from the floor up. Now, last spring, about the same time, I found something on my bedroom window. Now, I stay up kind of late at night and read, and I have a light on, but I have Venetian blinds. But sometimes they're open a little bit, and I can kind of see outside if there's a full moon or something. So something is tall and kind of looking down and in, and that was to the side of that window, and that would have been up at least 6 feet from, my bedroom window sits up a little bit. But the scariest thing that I've had happen here is something knocking on all 4 corners of the house. Now, like that woman you were telling about, John, this house is like a tri-level, I guess you would call it. You come in the top and then you go down, and there's room down there. And out from there is a porch or a back deck. And then you go down to get into the basement. So it's probably 25, 30 feet at least from. I have big windows on this back of the house. That thing was knocking on these windows, whatever was knocking.
Oh, wow.
And then it knocked on all 4 corners of the house. And we went out and checked and didn't see anything. But that was, we call that the night of siege. It's just like somebody taking their fist and going. And Chris, my son, heard it. My granddaughter was here. And how it started was it was about 6 o'clock at night. And he took Phoebe out. And Meredith, my granddaughter, was staying here every night. She went out with him. And then Meredith came in because it was getting a little cool. And then just a few minutes, Chris came in. He said, "What are you guys pounding on?" And I said, "We weren't pounding on anything." And he said, "Well, I heard something out back. Down over the hill, we had a utility trailer that was sitting down there near the creek." So it sounded like pounding on metal, just about 5 or 6 times. They'd do it like 3 times, then they'd do it again. And then he came in, and then after that's when we started getting pounded on the house. He called the police. Police came out with their lights. They went all around everything. And they said, "Oh, we don't know what it is." And he said, "Well, I can tell you what I think it might be." He said, "Might be Bigfoot." Of course, they laughed, and they left. They didn't even get out. They just shone light around. But it continued till about 3 a.m. And we'd go out. We didn't see anything. So Meredith and I went to bed downstairs on the second floor down there. And as soon as we were down there and turned the lights out in my bedroom, I locked the bedroom door inside, heard pounding on the window. And that's the one that had the slobbers on it. And
nice.
Meredith said, I'm scared. And I said, I've just about had enough. And I turned on the lights. Or before I turned on the lights, it sounded like somebody got a handful of rocks and threw it on the inside of the door.
Oh,
it was kind of like poltergeist activity, to tell you the truth. But Chris heard that knocking. Now I've heard knocking in the woods before that sounded like somebody pitching a tent. And I said, "Who's out here in the woods pitching a tent?" And I'd go around the corner, nothing. But you could hear that click, click, click. You know how when you pull the tent stakes out and you take a hammer and you pound it down? It's exactly what it sounded like. There was nothing. So
wow.
I hear all kinds of craziness. Went out there one morning and I have like a little camp down here, and I have a path that goes out into the woods. It's just right off my back yard back here because I live in the woods. And probably about 30 feet from the yard, there was a tree, and the path goes on the right side of the tree, and it's pretty well worn. It goes out into the woods and over to the creek. Well, this one particular morning I went out there, and there was like a big tree leaned up against this other little tree. And then right across the path was a tree that touched the right end of that one tree. It was just like a triangle. It was up the tree, and then one balanced from the top down to the left. And then there was one moved over from that bottom to touch a tree again. I thought, man, that's odd. How something's put that there. And I went over there, and there's this thing that looked like a big handprint. And so I had posted pictures of it and stuff. And Les Odell came out and looked at it. He said he didn't know what it was. It appeared to him to be well, I don't want to say something that and get it wrong, but like it almost looked like it was a handprint burnt into that log, or painted or pressed. So I find rocks and moss, and then I found a skull up in the tree, and I've heard the Sierra sounds that sounds like pigs. I've heard them screaming. I've heard them whine and whoop, and I've seen lights. One night I was sitting on the porch last spring, and it was before the lightning bugs come out, and I something caught my eye out of the corner of my eye. I turned and looked to my right, and I was sitting on the back veranda back here, and I was probably about a baseball size orb came across the road and over to the creek, and it stopped, and I watched it, and it went in front of me, eye level, over into the woods where I told you I found that log and the structure. And then it went up into the trees and then over towards, my left, and was gone. And it didn't blink. It just moved. And there's a light out here in my woods that, I've gone on Google Earth. I've been out in those woods many, many times, way out there. And there's no house out there. But there's a light that shows up about this time. And I've been watching for it. Well, this past week it showed up, and there it is. Now, what is that? I don't know. Sometimes it looks red. Sometimes it looks yellow. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's not. So
when you say sometimes it looks red, sometimes it looks yellow, are you referring to like eye shine?
No, it's just one thing, just a light. You know how you go outside and you look off to the ways and you can see a cell tower or somebody's house light or something like that. I have watched all winter. Now it's been out there for a couple years. It's gone in the winter, but now it's back out there. So I don't know what it is. I'm going out there as soon as the snow's gone and I can get out. I'm going back out there and see if I can't find what's out there. I've been out there. That's where there's some structures out there. So I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Didn't you say that you're going to put up trail cam?
Yeah, I've got to get some batteries. I've just procrastinated. It's laying out here. I've got a trail cam.
Okay.
We've only got the one car, and he uses it to go to work. So I'm kind of stuck here, except evenings, and I don't go out at night by myself or weekends. So I will. That's what I planned on doing this weekend, is getting some batteries for that thing, so I can.
Well, can I give you some advice about that?
Yes,
when you put a trail cam up, don't put it at 6 foot height. Okay, put it up at least 10 feet.
Okay.
At least 10 feet. Okay, and put it on a game trail. If
Okay.
you had multiple cameras, if you had at least two, I'd put them across from each other. Okay.
Okay.
This way, if anything walks between them, one of the cameras is going to catch it. Okay.
Yeah.
I have some other tips too.
Okay.
From my experience, I found that Bigfoot likes to walk in creeks and water.
Yeah.
And what it does that to mask its footprint.
Yeah.
Because I found tracks coming up out of the water, at least 5 feet up on the embankment. Okay.
I agree to that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, as I said earlier, it needs food, water, and shelter. Okay. Thick brush. Okay. Because it can go through brambles and everything else like no problem.
I know. I know.
So there's that. The other thing I say is this, and I said this to Dan a long time ago. The number one thing you got to do when you're in the woods, you got to be absolutely still and quiet. Not a sound, because if I can hear you, it can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're the world's champion hide and seek. Okay. So they have the abilities that we don't have. They have super senses. Okay. I don't like to use that word super senses, but that's what fits these creatures. Super strength, hearing, sight, smell, sound. Okay. So it has everything we have, but in much more. Plus, I think it sees in different frequencies of light. It could use ultraviolet or infrared. I don't know. Night vision. I don't know. Okay. Now, when its eyes glows, what does that tell me? There's no creature on earth that has eyes that glow in the dark on its own, like it's got glasses on, okay, that light up. So I'm not sure what it is we're seeing. Okay, I really don't. I can tell you that the main thing, you don't want to be afraid of it. Don't point a gun at it, because I don't think short of a bazooka you could hurt it. Okay, I think if you wound any animal, what happens if you don't kill it? It gets mean. And it'll look at you. Every human being will be its enemy from that point on.
Yeah.
If you find a young one, don't try to hurt it or capture it. Okay. What they need to do, I mean, look, they need to have a rich philanthropist who has an interest in this stuff that can fund an expedition with the top people in the world in their fields: biology, zoology, anthropology, expert trackers, that kind of stuff, to go out there and do an in-depth, at least a month or 2 month long investigation, or maybe longer. Okay. Because right now, what we have in the woods, we have a bunch of individuals like myself, like you, Dan, and others, that we don't go out there with large groups of people. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't take I've had people ask to go with me, a lot of rookies. I call them rookies. But I'm not out there. I mean, if they want to learn about this stuff, I can sit them down in a classroom somewhere and teach them this kind of stuff. But I'm not going to take somebody who doesn't know what they're looking at or what to look for or how to act in the woods. Okay. Because they're putting my life at risk too. Okay. So these are the kind of things you got to do. Now, you had mentioned about you sent a sample to a lab somewhere. Well, yeah. I found 2 sets of hairs. I sent them to the local university up here. And it came. Now, this is before the advent of more advanced DNA testing. They both came back unknown hominid. Unknown hominid.
Yeah.
Okay, all that means is something on 2 feet that walks. It's human shape, but much bigger. Okay, I've heard stories where people are talking about Bigfoot can be up to 20 feet tall. I don't buy that. Okay, I think 10 or 11 foot is about the max. Okay, and generally it's going to be the males that are bigger than the females anyhow. Okay, the one that was up here in Crescent Heights, the male was probably 10 feet, probably the same one I saw, and the female was probably about 8 feet, so 2 feet shorter. And here's the thing about that: it was carrying something in its left arm because the depth of the imprint on the left foot was deeper than the right by about 200 pounds.
It was carrying a baby. Carrying a baby on its head. Mm-hmm.
A 200-pound baby. That's a big baby.
Yes, that is.
That's a big baby. But like I said, the main thing, if you're going to go into the woods, you got to be vigilant. You got to be quiet. Don't wear underarm deodorant or perfumes or anything like that because it can smell. Okay? Simple as that. Women, I hate to say it like this, women should not go into the woods when they're having their monthlies. I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth. Any kind of animal you ought not be around. Horses.
Right.
I've got horses, and I know you're not supposed to, or cattle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Well, I want to ask you guys both a question because on the live chat, Addy Raw, a couple questions he's asked it kind of relate to trail cameras and this and that. But before I go into that, it's first of all, I want to ask you guys, and I'm sure some of the listeners and watchers on this podcast have seen it and keep up with it. But have you guys been watching Expedition Bigfoot?
Off and on.
Okay.
Reruns. I watched the reruns.
Off and on.
Right.
But, the thing, you got to remember that show is primarily entertainment.
Exactly. However, one thing I want to point out real quick because Addy Raw on the chat is asking about game cameras and capturing my camera and this and that. Well, one of the things I noticed because I like to see the Expedition Bigfoot comes out every Wednesday. A new episode comes out every Wednesday on Discovery. I set it to record, so I usually watch it on Thursday. So I watched the latest episode on the new season last night on Thursday. So one of the episodes was where Russell Accord, who I will be meeting tomorrow, by the way, in town, which I'm kind of excited about. However, watching the latest episode, he tried using game cameras. And he figured, the conclusion, according to the show, it must have knew of my game cameras or avoided the infrared and he walked around it. Well, for the record, I've been using game cameras for years. Okay, so I'm very familiar with how game cameras work. My game cameras, most of my older game cameras have infrared, where all your wildlife will see the infrared. Yes, they can pick up your human scent if your scent is on those cameras. But on numerous occasions, I've had bears, I've had deer, I had so many other species of animals look at my cameras when their picture is being taken. Even video, it depends on how you have it set. Most of the time I have it set on pictures, and a majority of the time I like to have video. But with that being said, I research cameras, game cameras. I want to have the best cameras that I could afford to use out in the field. Now, with that being said, the cameras I have, they're not the most expensive, but they're pretty decent. And I will tell you that they have long range, high pixelation. Because when it comes to game cameras, anyone who is familiar with game cameras, you have to look at, they go by pixelation on your photos and your videos. Well, with that being said, I also look at the infrared, like what gives off the infrared or the image that you could get. Well, my game cameras do not use infrared. They use what they call an invisible glow, which is less threatening and less startling to the wildlife. And my game cameras usually range any from 70 to 80 plus feet in range. So what gets me, I know this is kind of switching gears a little bit, but my thing is watching this exhibition of Bigfoot. They're using all this high technology, equipment, and they're using game cameras with infrared, where technology has advanced to where you could use cameras out in the woods without infrared, which does not give off a glow to the visible eye to any wildlife. I use that. So my question is, why are they not using the same technology? It doesn't cost that much. It's inexpensive. I mean, my camera's about anywhere from $50 up to over $100. But you can get game cameras for $200-$300. I don't spend all that much on cameras. I do, a little here and there. I also have game cameras that are made to. I use cellular cameras where if my cameras are out in the woods, as long as I got service and signal out there, I get the images and the video clips to my phone. Why don't they do that? So
let me just tell you what I think. Again,
go ahead, John.
I say that because it's entertainment, they take camera crew into the woods. Okay, they talk the whole time they're in the woods with the camera crew. Okay.
Yeah.
They make noise. What do I say about being quiet in the woods? Okay. They're out there. They're making enough noise. And Bigfoot knows they're in the woods before they know that they know they're in the woods. Okay.
Right.
They make too much noise. The best thing to do is what we did down by Mingo, Dan. Find a spot, settle down off a game trail, and just be quiet. Not move a muscle, and wait. Wait. That's all you got to do. Be patient.
What do you have to say about like having a bonfire or a cookout? A lot of people say they'll come close because
they're curious.
They're curious. I suppose maybe that would be okay too. But if you go in the woods, just like if you're a bird watcher, you're not going to see very many birds if you make a whole lot of racket. If you go somewhere and you sit down, lean against a tree, and you're going to see it.
Well, here's the thing. What was I going to say? I got some timers going on here. Dang, it just came and went. See, but I don't know.
That happens to me all the time. Don't feel that, John.
Like I said, but the thing is again, it's an entertainment-based show. Yeah, they got good equipment and stuff, things of that nature. I agree with you, but I really hope that somebody does capture a live Bigfoot. It's at least a juvenile. You got a better chance, I think, of getting a juvenile than an adult. But if they do, it'll put to rest the question, what are they? Because they'll get it studied and such, okay? But you got all these shows on TV now, Bigfoot shows. There's one, I'm not even going to mention its name, but I'll tell you what they do. Every noise they hear in the woods, every tree fall that they find in the woods is Bigfoot related.
Expedition Bigfoot, I'll say it.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but BFRO, for one. BFRO.
Finding Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a squatch in these woods.
Yep. That's right.
The other thing is, somebody just asked about humans when they die and the paranormal picks up their residual energy. Okay, I think people have asked me, why don't we find bodies of Bigfoot? Well, I think there's several reasons. One could possibly be, back in the day, during Neanderthal times and early Homo sapiens, they've reverted sometimes to ritualistic cannibalism.
I was going to say they eat them. They eat them.
Right. Or the other thing is they could drop their bodies down mine shafts or deep into caves where we haven't found them. Or maybe their bone structure is such as they disintegrate very quickly. Okay. We haven't found to my knowledge, we have no mainstream Bigfoot hunter has found a body or bones of a Bigfoot. Okay.
Nope.
And we probably won't if those reasons are the way they are. But I mean, we have a lot of mines around this area where I live, mines and caves and such like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you do. Pennsylvania is loaded with them. And with that being said, just depends on what part of Virginia you're in. There is a certain part of the national forest which I've camped and researched in before and have had experience in. This particular area, which I won't mention on record, has, if you look on a geographical map, even the geographical map will say mine, all over. This location was known for mining here in Virginia, and it's like 20 minutes from me, So, and it's all deep woods that leads up to the parkway, into the, all in the forest, in the mountains. But
How many
Did you
times
know
do you
that-
find a bear? You don't find a bear in the woods or a bobcat.
exactly. Actually, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, Linda, because I was going to throw it, not to cut you off, John, but sometimes when these things bring up the mind, this is something I've been in questions and discussions with non-believers and even some skeptics. Well, if Bigfoot does exist, where is the body? Where are the remains? That's a big question among skeptics, which I respect that question, and I love that question because I come back with them with a question before I get into any conversation or discussion. Well, first of all, along the lines with what John just mentioned, hey, we don't know what they do with their remains. But with that being said, again, let's question where are the remains of a bear or a mountain lion that's died of natural causes. Now, yes, I've seen dead bears on the side of the road that has been hit by cars right up the road from us. We've had bears come through the yard here. They pass through. The bluish parkway is our backyard. You can see the mountains right here in the backyard. So, there's a lot of wildlife that come through here. We have tons of deer through here. But again, we've had the bears. But bears and mountain lions are a good question about people need to think about where are those remains when they die from their natural causes. Because it's very rare, if any. There's very rare documentation, like many years ago, where remains of one that's died of natural causes found in old ancient caves. They may have found remains of a bear and this and that, but I have a bear skull. I found a bear skull from my hikes and exploration, found out in the mountains. What killed that bear? I mean, it could have been old age, or it could have been attacked by coyotes, because yes, coyotes do attack bears. I found numerous coyote scat with bear hair in it. So they'll find a young, weak bear or a dead bear that's weak and wounded, and they'll group up on it. Coyotes are notorious for that. But with that being said, people need to think about that question before they ask about where are the remains of a Bigfoot that's died. Think about a bear. Think about a mountain lion. Where are their remains? And then I can get it. Yeah, and then I could get it up. Yeah, go ahead.
What about elephants? They got elephant graveyards. We don't find them sometimes, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, with that being said, you got to consider North America, though.
If I understand, what I'm getting at is that any creature can be. You might not be able to find any creature really based on what you just said. I mean, it's just the way it is. You don't see many. I mean, unless it's something hits a rabbit on the side of the road, you don't really see dead rabbits in the woods very often. Or for that matter, birds. Okay.
And if a Bigfoot was hit along the road, its family would come and get it, because if they're as smart as what you say they are, they're going to get the body, and they could throw them in the water. I mean, they could.
That's something I wanted to bring up.
By water. Yeah.
In 1947, there was a sighting of a Bigfoot-like creature. They didn't call it Bigfoot. They called it a big hairy man. Came out of the Mon River in the wintertime, okay, supposedly not too far from where I live. And now, keep this in mind. I think that sometimes they can build underneath the embankments of rivers like a cave.
Mm-hmm.
Live up under. Who's going to know it's there?
I know. Behind the waterfall.
People say there's no alligators that can survive the winter. I got news for you. 250 million years, this alligator and crocodilian have survived. In fact, in the Pittsburgh Rivers, Des Moines, Ohio, okay, they found live alligators that survived the winter. Where do they live? Up under the embankments.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Bigfoot is a opportunist. It's going to go where it can find the best shelter, and I think it'll stay up high, away from roadways, especially this time of year, because there's not much foliage on the trees, right? So it's going to stay up high where it has a good vantage point. In the summer months, you might see they might come down closer to the roadway because there's leaves and stuff on trees where they can hide behind. But in the wintertime, you know yourself, Dan, as a hunter, and me too, you can see way into the woods now, okay? Because there's no foliage out there, so to speak. I mean, there's brush and stuff, but yeah, you can see really far out there. You know.
Right. One thing I want to throw out there real quick. William Nighthawk says, "My people have found remains deep in waters in caves underwater," which I agree. I believe that a lot of Native Americans had more uh, findings back, when they were less disturbed by the Europeans, when Europeans, came over here and started invading the lands and stuff. But with that being said, today's people, especially, let's talk about hunters. I've been observant of other hunters in these national forests and stuff, and when I go out and hunt, I take a chance. I go walk out so far. I go deep in the woods and I set up and do my hunting. However, most of these hunters will stay in an area where their dogs are doing the work, or they have a group of people that will do a push and push the deer out towards them, in a certain area. But a lot of these hunters today, they've become, I guess maybe this is the right way to put it. I don't know. I could be wrong. But they've gotten lazy. They don't go out in the woods. They don't go out in the woods like what a lot of hunters used to do. And they're not exploring. There's a lot of people that don't go out looking for these locations and to explore. Me, I strive on finding places that look like caves and dens and stuff like that. Because like he said, a lot of his people back in the day have found remains. Today, you won't come across that. You won't have people unless you're dedicated and willing to put the time in, boots on the ground. You won't have that chance. I mean, I believe a lot of us do have that chance because we're out there, boots on the ground. But it takes time. It'll be dedicated time, and that's the thing. Again, I'll repeat myself again that these hunters and the people, they're not out there. There's not enough people dedicating their time to explore nature and deep in the wilderness. Because again, I believe there is something to be found. It's just a matter of time and being at the right place at the right time. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So,
what's funny? When my wife and I go off to drives, we take drives in the country fairly often. She's always looking, and so am I. Always looking. Okay, that's what we do. We like to take the drives. It's a relaxing thing for me, But and for her, she likes, she's my sidekick and my co-investigator, So, but we go, we look, And now that I have a new hip and a new knee, I can get around a lot better than I did before. I'm partially bionic now, but the thing is that you're right. You got to get boots on the ground. If anybody can sit around and speculate and write books about what they think Bigfoot is, or write about other people's cases, they may not even believe what they're writing, but they're writing to make money off of it. And I don't like that.
Yep.
Okay.
You're right.
You get out there and you put your feet on the ground. You go out there in the woods. I mean, look, we talked earlier about UFOs. May 30th, 1990, I was with my first wife who was pregnant with our third child, and our two older children. One was 7, and I think the other one was 9, or maybe it was a year younger. But anyhow, we're on this ridge, which I took you, Dan, on you and Ron and the other investigator, right? And so I'm showing my kids the constellations, and down where I showed you where this thing was on the ground behind the trees was some real strong lights. Okay, and I thought it was an off-road vehicle at first. That's my first thoughts. I was logical. Still started lifting up. Come from behind the trees, and it was so bright I couldn't even look at it from 300 feet away. It came to hover over me, and I'm walking toward it with my camera in my hand. I had a 400 film, which is not a great film, but it was like I always carried a camera back then. Now I carry the phone. But it came over top me, and I was irradiated with orange light. My first wife saw it looked like waves of heat coming down on me. I got burned. I ended up going to the hospital. I told you this story before. I got. Oh yeah,
I'm actually glad you're bringing it back up, because I was going to ask you to touch base on this at some point. Anyway, go ahead, continue.
Well, anyhow, so this thing was about 50 feet in diameter, and the reason I know, I went back up the next day and with my other investigator, Devin, and we went up with gear on, and we had radiation gear and stuff and badges. We took a Geiger counter. We walked up to where it was behind the trees where I took you guys up to, we walked up and behind her. You see how big of an area that is. And that area showed an indentation about 50 feet in diameter. And the radiation was so powerful, it shot the dial off of the Geiger counter. And our badges turned immediately red, so we backed up. Well, the thing is we went for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, we started watching the Geiger counter go down until it dissipated. We found, after that, we walked into it, and we found melted plants, not bent, melted. Okay, the depth of the impressions indicated a weight of around 30 tons. This thing was orange. It had 2 lights on the front, 3 windows. Had retracting landing gear. It looked like this, like 2 sets of fingers going up into the edge. Not like tripods, but like this. It tilted. It was maybe 15 to 20 feet above me at this point, and my wife and kids were screaming, "Get back in the Jeep! Get back in the Jeep!" Well, you know me. I gotta know. I'm standing like a knucklehead looking at this thing, taking pictures. It tilts down like this, and I look and I see in the windows 4 creatures. And I mentioned this earlier. 3 of the same size, about 3 feet or so, and the other one was, and they were dark in color, big eyes, the grays, and one was about a head taller. It was gray but lighter color, and it looked to me like, I would have to say that was the mission commander, not the captain of the ship. Okay. Now it zipped away with this whole time. There was no sound. I just felt this tremendous heat on me. Now I wore a baseball cap, which I always do wear, a t-shirt and jeans. Everywhere my skin was exposed, including my hair on the sides was falling out. I went down. Well, anyhow, so I ran back to the Jeep. It zipped off the side of the road about 300 feet, and it was jerking like this. Okay, it was an orange hemispherical dish. So I fall. Now the road's real windy, as you know, because I took you there, and it came down around the turn and disappeared. So I took my wife and kids were terrified. So I took them down to my brother's house, and we came back up in his SUV, and he had fully charged big. Remember those big camcorders, the great big ones.
Oh yeah.
And he had three fully charged batteries. So we don't see one UFO, we see 3. Triangular shaped formation hovering. So we start film. We got 5 seconds of film from the first, and the battery died. Fully charged battery. Second, he slapped another battery in. 3 seconds, it dies. Third battery goes in, it dies immediately, and the lights go off on the vehicle. When it did, the one at the top went straight up, the other 2 went to the right and left. Okay. So my brother Ralph took me to the hospital, which is the old Brownsville Hospital, and he said on the way, "What are you going to tell the doctors happening? Because your skin's falling off and everything else." I said, "I'll tell them I fell asleep under an ultraviolet lamp." He says, "I don't know." I said, "Well, I have to tell them." He says, "You can't tell them you were zapped by a UFO." So I go to the hospital. I go to the emergency room. The doctor said, "What happened?" And I said, "I fell asleep under an ultraviolet lamp." He tilted his head to the side. He says, "You're sticking to that story?" He treated me for 3rd and 2nd degree burns over every place that was exposed to me. Now, just so you know, I developed cancer. Okay. Which I still got to go every 3 months or so to get blood work to see if it's gone. And my oncologist himself, a UFO witness, said I was exposed to some type of ionizing radiation which caused my cancer. Okay. So that's the long and short of it. I fought that cancer. Now it's going on, I don't know, 10, 11 years, I guess. 8.5 at first. I was on chemo, which destroyed my right hip, my teeth, and my knee. Okay, and so I had to get them all replaced. These are false, by the way. Just call me Gumby when they're not in. But like I said, and I had 56 doses of high intensity radiation to kill the cancer. No one's ever survived 56 doses. At Hillman Cancer Center here in Washington, they call me Superman. Okay, 35 to 38 is the maximum dose. But I survived it. But I still got to go every 3 months or so to get blood work. Okay, just to make sure it hasn't returned. Now, I saw these creatures. I went under hypnotic regression too. My friend and I both. We had missing time. I don't want to get into that because it's getting kind of late. It's working on 10 o'clock. But maybe we can do this again in the near future. If you're interested in this. But
absolutely.
Suffice it to say, I got into the paranormal field primarily for UFOs and alien abductions. I've talked to people who were abducted. I myself started as an abductee when I was 5 years of age. I have marks on me on my right ankle. I got when I was 5 years old, and an identical one on my right wrist, which is still there to this day. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke, and I rarely if ever drink. Okay. Now, the person who set up my hypnotic regressions was Stan Gordon. I used to belong in his group. I was an investigator in his group. And they set it up with a man who was a 30-year veteran of the Pittsburgh City Police Force who was into forensic hypnoregression for witnesses and victims' memories. When I got done with that, we have the tape here somewhere in the house. He said I was a real deal. So was my friend. We were both taken. I know this sounds crazy and far-fetched, but if you're listening to this show right now, you must be interested in some of this stuff, okay? Or you wouldn't be listening to it. You're not on here just to simply say you're a bunch of idiots and liars, okay? But I like to get into down the road further. But like I says, I don't want to take too much more time up. But I want Linda to talk more about what her experiences were, what she felt about it, and what she felt since about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have currently right now, we have a good steady flow of listeners right now. So it's been averaging about 14 people. That doesn't mean there's other people watching it. So, and plus, for the record, I want to state this too. Even though we are currently live right now, this episode will be recorded and uploaded. Well, it's recording now while we're live. However, we will have this on the ECBRO Bigfoot Radio platform. So if you're not a follower of ECBRO Bigfoot Radio, I encourage you to check that out. It's on your favorite podcast platform. This is something new we're doing. We're going to start going live. Then I'll upload to the ECBRO Bigfoot Radio platform. So here we are on YouTube. We're live on YouTube. So you guys could interact and have the chance to ask questions, which we've been appreciating the feedback and all the questions and everything that's been going on so far. Because, like I said, I've been doing ECBR Bigfoot Radio. If you have not been following, you guys have been missing out on some great discussions and shows. We've had John, we've had Linda on the radio. So if you're watching now and you want to hear other stories and the other information that they've shared, I encourage you to follow ECBRO Bigfoot Radio. And again, it's found on any of your favorite podcast platforms. We do promote, everything gets distributed on Spreaker, Spreaker. Again, if you have Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so much more, we're on your favorite, all these shows, all these episodes are uploaded to your favorite podcast platforms. Also, here in Virginia, Media Squatch is a network that we're broadcasting through. Media Squatch is also located out of Bedford, Virginia. I'm also on their other podcast network, which is called Grove Street FM. You could go on your Google Podcast or whatever. You can download the app. Again, it's called Grove Street FM. There is an app. You could download that app, and you can listen to us through the app as well. So, but I want to throw that out there for those who are listening and tune in, because ECBR Bigfoot Radio, we're much bigger than what we used to be. So, and again, for those who are tuning in, watching us live, thank you very much. And if you're new to the YouTube channel, I'm hoping that you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, because we're going to try to continue to do live broadcasts so we can get your interaction and your questions, because it adds a lot to these discussions and these interviews. So thank you guys very much for that. But yeah, Linda, is there anything you want to throw in there with what John was relating to?
I think we've covered most of it, but does anybody have any questions about my encounter? Or I've had a lot of people since I've been telling this. It's only been since 2017 that I've come forward, but I've had a lot of people just blatantly say, "I don't believe you."
Oh, you're going to get that. Yeah, you're always going to get that.
You got to develop a tough skin. It takes a lot of courage to come forward and tell. I mean, my life, I've been this way all my life. I saw my guardian angel when I was 3. Some things happened to me when I was 12 that validated that that's exactly who I saw. And then I was 16 when I saw Mothman. And then I took some time off, I guess, and raised a family and worked. And then I started having flashbacks. and I've had therapy for all the things I've been through. I have, I guess you could say I'm a clairvoyant, and I've had uh, dreams that have come true. I can meet people and be able to tell them about themselves. I don't really consider myself a healer, but I can tell if somebody is ill with something, or and then I can connect with spirits. A lot of times I'll just go to the store and I'll be drawn to someone and start talking to them, and I feel that God uses me as a conduit to reach other people and to help other people. But it really was hard when I was in high school. I mean, I was 16 when this happened. I graduated when I was 17, and I was teased a lot for, for the way that I was. I could hear other people's thoughts, feel other people's emotions, and I'm still that way. But I think that, well, I come from a long line of people. I don't like to use the word psychic, but my mother was knew things. Maybe the power of discernment's more likely, but my dad's mother was that way. So I had it on both sides of the family, and uh, but growing up with it was really hard. And I think in my 40s, after I had my kids and they were in school and stuff, my psychic abilities really took off, and I knew things, and I could tell the future, and but mostly the power of discernment. And I don't know if it's all connected, or it seems like a lot of the people that have these encounters with Bigfoot also have encounters with other creatures, like I did with the Mothman, and are able to see spirits. I see spirits. I've seen several spirits here in the house. If it makes anybody feel better, I've seen animal spirits. So I know that our pets go on, and a lot of times they're just right around here with us. And I feel things, I hear things, and I know things. And you can't help it if you're that way. And if someone says, "Oh, I don't believe you," well, I'm sorry. Maybe if they just took a little bit of time, and I think going out into nature and getting to getting to know more about animals and plants and different things that makes you appreciate those abilities. And I think that you just sort of become more real, I think, living closer to nature. But if anybody
Absolutely.
has any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer if I can.
Yeah. William Nighthawk are saying, Linda, I get that all that time. You and John could talk on my show anytime. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's something. If you're not familiar with William Nighthawk, High Strangers, he's got an awesome show. He covers everything from paranormal to conspiracy theories, and although we do get into that discussion on this show too, but yeah, I encourage you to check out William Nighthawk's show and perhaps getting connected with him. With that being said, also I do want to throw out there, because Addie Raw is talking about, he would love to talk on the show as well. If you want to meet up, if you're not on my Facebook page, Daniel Benoit, Benoit. I'm the founder of the ECBRO, the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. Feel free to send me an email if you want to be on the show at ecbro98@gmail.com. We'll get into the discussion. I'll respond to you when I'm able to. However, we'll get you scheduled to be on here. But from here on out, as long as it works out, I am going to continue to do a live broadcast. Even though these episodes will be uploaded to the radio show, and we got another live show tomorrow right here on YouTube. It's going to be a Bigfoot roundtable discussion with yours truly, Melissa and David Lester. who are also now part of my co-host. And also, for those who know Nikki Cologne from Texas, she'll be joining us tomorrow night. Same time, we start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope that you guys could join us tomorrow night because we will be live again. And then also all these episodes that are live on YouTube now will be on the ECBR Bigfoot Radio platform. So I encourage you all to jump on board with the ECBR Bigfoot Radio because there's so many other episodes that you guys probably have missed out on. I encourage you to keep up on and follow because there's going to be so much more that we could talk about and discuss. We can go on and on and on because, I mean, our guests like John and Linda, I mean, they have so much information they can probably talk about. We can go on and on and on. And, but again, if you guys have questions before we jump off air here, please ask away. We encourage you guys to ask questions and participate, which you guys have been doing great tonight. I want to thank you guys. You guys have been amazing on the live chat. So if there's any other last minute questions from anybody, I don't care what it is, our guests are right here on standby. So we'll sit tight here. But while you guys come up with questions, I am going to take this moment to talk about. I'm going to play an advertisement of some upcoming shows, some events that you guys might want to mark your calendars for. So sit tight. ECBRO Bigfoot Radio fans, it's time to grab your pens, your calendars, and start writing down these dates for these upcoming events in the 2025 year. February 8th, the ECBRO is hosting a Bigfoot and Lunch gathering in Lexington, Virginia, happening at the legendary Eats Cafe. If you have a Bigfoot story, or if you're just a fan of Bigfoot and you want to learn what's going on with the ECBRO and find out who they are and what they do, this event's for you. It's a free event. The only thing that's going to cost you if you want to buy off the menu and enjoy a delicious meal while you sit among other researchers. All right, moving ahead, in the month of March 29th is the Penn, Ohio Paranormal Con, happening at the Tiffany Banquet Center in Brookfield, Ohio. Yes, that is also sponsored and hosted by Mr. Bill Rigby. All right, jumping ahead into the month of June. Boy, do we have some awesome stuff going on in June. Again, I hope you're marking this down, and I hope you prepare yourself to attend these events. June 6th, 7th, and 8th, happening in Marionville, Pennsylvania, the Forest County Bigfoot Festival. The event that's grown so huge, it's unbelievable. You're going to want to attend this event. Over 100 vendors, food trucks, and guest speakers. This event is something you want to attend. Not to mention, if you like to go squatching, there is the Allegheny National State Forest nearby. You're going to want to check that forest out. It's very squatchy. June 20th and 21st, happening in Wares Cave, Virginia, at the Wares Cave Community Center, is the annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Yes, it's right there being held at the Community Center in Wares Cave, Virginia. Both indoor and outdoor vendors, guest speakers, fun activity and contests for the kids. You're going to want to check this out. If you've never been to this event, it's very fun. You get to meet up with other like-minded people, get to go out and hang out with them in the evenings around a fire. If you get that special invite, you get to have a lot more. You're going to want to check that out and start becoming a part of that event, because that is not just an event. It's like a family gathering. That's June 20th and 21st. So feel free to check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, happening in the month of June, also June 26th, 27th, and 28th, happening in Sutton, West Virginia, is the annual West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. Another massive, huge festival with over 100 vendors, all kinds of activity and fun and contests for kids and people of all ages, guest speakers, celebrities, people you're going to want to get to know and get to meet and learn from. ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are taking the time to mark these dates and these locations down. If you have any questions regarding any of these events, send an email to ecbro98@gmail.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, with those events that were just advertised and promoted, a couple of the events, I'll be at all the events mentioned in the month of June. Forest County Bigfoot Festival in Marionville, Pennsylvania. That's going to be an event I myself will be speaking at, along with those who know Biker Bigfoot, aka Ron Howes. We'll both be speaking there at that event. Keep in mind that event has celebrity personnel there. The Mountain Monsters will be there, along with Turtle Man. For those who know the show from Animal Planet, Turtle Man will be there. However, if you want real boots on the ground researchers, I encourage you to come out and listen to me and Ron Howes. We're actually scheduled to speak on Sunday, June 8th. We'll be there speaking. They got it scheduled. Me and Ron speaking on June 8th. So come out June 8th. Forget the other guys, because you can watch them anytime on TV. They're all a bunch of celebrity clowns anyway. So I'm a little biased, but you know what? I'm going to speak my mind. I don't give a fuck. If you want to listen to a bunch of clowns, come out June 7th and 8th. I don't care. June 6th, 7th, whatever. But me and Ron, the real deal, we'll be there on the 8th. So, but yeah, I'm a little blunt when it comes to that, because I guess perhaps I had a few beers tonight, so I'm a little outspoken. Well,
but yeah, for the Bigfoot.
That's right, absolutely. June 20th and 21st, the event that I host right here in Virginia in Wares Cave, the annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. We're going to have a lot of fun this year, because you know what? Not only do we have all the coolest vendors, the food trucks, the guest speakers, we're going to have the Renaissance with us. We're going to have the Renaissance and Medieval group with us. They're going to be doing battles and demos. So, yeah, everybody, if you come out to that, you're in for a treat. John, for those who listen to John tonight, John's going to be one of our guest speakers this year. I'm excited to have John with us. John was one of my speakers in Pennsylvania when I held the Pennsylvania event, but he's going to be here in Virginia, and you'll have the opportunity to listen to John, ask questions to John, meet John. His wife is going to be there. She's going to be set up because John and his wife will have their own booth. All of our speakers will have a booth where you get a chance to meet them and check out their merchandise and all that cool stuff. John, I'm excited to have you there, man. I'm glad you and your wife are coming down.
Well, listen, I'm going to be in the Renaissance thing, fighting the battles. I'm going to be Sir John Talks a Lot.
I've got a horse you can use.
Oh, shit. Oh, my.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a great time there. So, yeah, these events that I see people jumping on and talking, there's people asking other questions on here already that I'm just now seeing. But type chat.
The Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I don't know if you guys go to that. That's at Salt Fork, the 3rd and 4th of May.
Well, repeat that again.
The Ohio Bigfoot Conference.
Oh,
OBC.
yes.
It's at Salt Fork Lodge. Trying to think the name of that town. All I know it of is Salt Fork.
Okay. Give me 1 second here.
Salt Fork.
I have been to the
That's a good conference.
Yeah, I have not been there since the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I've been there in 2017.
Yes.
Which was that was what, 6 years ago? About 6 years ago. Yeah, I attended that. That's the only time I've ever actually been to the Ohio Bigfoot Conference was in 2017. So, yeah, it was a great time. I had a great time. I met so many people. And what was cool about attending the Ohio Bigfoot conference, because you've only known so many people online, and you never met them. I'm bad at recognizing people in person, but I've had so many people. When I went to Ohio Bigfoot conference in 2017, I've had so many people come up to me and say, Daniel Benoit, is that you? I said, yeah, how you doing? And they would introduce themselves. I said, oh, so it was cool. A lot of people recognized me from social media, which was awesome. And, I'm bad about doing that. And I was like, I try to keep an eye out for certain people. Although I did recognize some people, and I went up to them because some people look like who they appear to be on social media. So yeah, it was a great time at the Ohio Bigfoot conference, and I encourage anybody, which I would love to get out there in Ohio again, but I don't see it happening this year because there's something else we're working on in the month of May. Because well, first of all, we got our group camp out, our ECBRO Bigfoot camp out investigation happening in May. In the month of May. Oh man, what's my dates? I don't have them there. 18th through the 24th or something like that. And anyway, but earlier in the month, we're organizing a Bigfoot group. It's more of a gathering. The location we're planning on doing the gathering, which I have yet to confirm the location. It's going to be in the general area where we've been investigating. So when we put that out there, I have to confirm it with the people I have to reserve the spot for. But it's going to be in the month of May. We plan on doing maybe a simple cookout, but we're going to reach out to the community in that area. We want people to come forward if they have a Bigfoot story or something they can explain. That's going to be along the lines of basically a Bigfoot town hall gathering, but it's going to be outdoors. We plan on doing a simple cookout, hot dogs and hamburgers. We did this a couple years ago. So, hey, John, I understand. Thank you very much.
Linda, I'm looking forward to meeting you.
You too.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Right.
So, yeah, with that being said, we'll be working on putting that out. I've been procrastinating on reaching out to the people that are in charge for me to make those reservations. So, but that's something we got going on in the early part of May is in Falks Run, Virginia. We plan on reaching out to those who have had a Bigfoot experience. We want to hear from you. So we'll be working on that very soon. But again, month of May is also our Bigfoot camp out investigation in the very same area we camped out back in October. We've actually had some very squatchy activity. We found some really great stuff. One of the group members of that camp out actually had a sighting during that time. So we know that there's squatches in this area. I've had reports from people in this area years ago, and I know it's a very active location. And the thing is, reports from this area, you will not find them on the BFRO database because these are country folk, mountain folk that do not jump on the BFRO.
People don't want people coming to their house and messing around and stuff. So, and then
exactly.
They may be made fun of. So
exactly. I mean, but because I've come to know a lot of the people in this area, and they've willingly came forward and shared their stories, and so I know what's going on in this area. And that's another reason why we chose this area. It's like, okay, this is very. I mean, it's just like my main research area is a lot of woods. It's remote. You get a lot of campers in the area, but then again, this particular area, same part of the national forest, but you're a little bit more in the outer rim towards the West Virginia area. You're in the mountains, and even though it's in Virginia, there's people that, they rather keep them themselves, which I respect that. But just from exploring this area, we've come to realize there's definitely something there, and not just that. This is the area where we decided to start filming our upcoming Bigfoot series that will be on YouTube, right here on YouTube, on ECBRO Bigfoot Radio or ECBR Bigfoot Zone. we're going to be doing this series called Bigfoot Explorers.
Really?
It's
That's
gonna,
awesome.
yeah,
When will that
absolutely.
come out?
We're going to start filming in May. We're going to start filming during our investigation. We have some. We've been touching base. Melissa and David that are on the live chat. They are a big part of this. They're part of my research team, and they're also, of course, my new co-host of ECBR Bigfoot Radio. I've been in this discussion. I've been, running some ideas across to David, and one of the things we definitely plan on doing is doing some stakeouts, which we didn't get to do last year, or I shouldn't, last year back in October. Which I want to take this a little bit more serious. I want to go a little deeper because, again, there's some things in this area that people don't realize that's there. And I'm not just talking about Bigfoot, but there's actually, this area here is rich with mountain lion sightings in this general area too. So I mean,
are you talking about Black Panthers, the Panther sightings?
Oh yes, all the above. Black Panthers, even the tan colored mountain lions. They've been sighting in this area just on the other side of the mountain ridge from this location, from farmers and stuff. So that's a big thing to me. Bigfoot and mountain lions in this area. To me, that's a big thing.
Yes, we've had panther sightings not too far from here. A couple of them that I know of, and then up above Marietta, just last year, there's been some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Now, I mean, in Virginia, yeah. I would love to capture a mountain lion on my cameras. I have bobcats. I've captured bobcats twice on my cameras, but one of them was just walking along the creek, and the other one happened to be following behind where a white-tailed deer was passing through on my camera. The white-tailed deer passed through, and then just a brief moment later, you see this bobcat, fairly decent-sized bobcat, passing along right behind with a bobcat. Yeah. From what I've seen from hunters, the bobcats in West Virginia tend to be a little bit larger, so.
Long legs. They have long legs. My daughter catches them on her trail cam. She lives probably about 5 miles from me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Awesome.
Big ones.
So yeah, we got some research and investigations coming up. Because the month of May will not only be the only month. When I go to Marionville, Pennsylvania for the Forest County Bigfoot Festival, they got me booked in a hotel for the first couple of nights, and then there's a location about 40 minutes away from where the festival is being held. I plan on spending at least a couple of nights in a very remote location, and which is very interesting because it's not far from a waterfall. But the area, I researched this. Yeah, I researched this location. I mapped it out very well, and there's Bigfoot reports in this general area. So I mean, I'm gonna camp there for a couple nights and see what happens, and I'll document everything I can. But from here, starting in May, from there on out, I will be documenting and I'll be filming and doing working on our film series for Bigfoot Explorers.
Well, congratulations. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, the film series will be right here on the YouTube channel on ECBR Bigfoot Zone. But the series will be titled Bigfoot Explorers. And we're going to see how it works out on the views and everything on the YouTube channel. If we get a big enough following, we may keep it on YouTube. If the following and and people subscribe and continue to grow, we'll keep it on YouTube. Because there's a network I was considering working with. However, I think it may benefit us more if we keep it on the YouTube channel. So we'll see how it turns out. If you're a subscriber or if you haven't not subscribed, we encourage you to do so because starting in May, things are going to get very interesting. Our YouTube this series will not be. It will not be. What's the word I'm looking for? It will not be scripted. Everything will be as is. So the only editing that will be is putting the film clips together. I yours truly will be doing the film editing. So I have a film software that I deal with that I've been working with, and I got fairly expensive equipment that I've need to put to use more, which will be used during these filming episodes and series. So,
well, good luck.
yeah.
I know you'll find something.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And real quick, before we jump off here, right here, I was questioned about if anyone wanted to get in contact with me about being on the show. My email, please send me an email to ecbro98@gmail.com. Let's talk. Tell me what you want to talk about. If you have an experience, I want to hear from you. That's what this is all about. ecbro98@gmail.com. We'll get you on here. We'll have a great discussion, and so much more. But for those who've been watching and listening, thank you guys very much. Linda, I can't thank you enough for being on here again. You've been on here a few times now, so it's been great.
Everybody out there too, just keep your eyes on the skies and get your butt out there in the woods and go look. You never know what you're going to find.
Absolutely. Most
Thanks,
definitely.
Daniel. Thank you, Daniel.
Oh, you as well. Thank you again, and everybody keep it squatchy. Until next time, this is Daniel Benoit with Bigfoot Zone ECBRO and ECBRO Bigfoot Radio.